Welcome to Legends with Bevo. Thanks to the Holdy, Coopers, and Anytime Fitness Glenelg.
Welcome to our very first ever live Legends with Bevo down here at the Alma Hotel. And what an absolute pleasure tonight to be joined by one of the best ever Norwood footballers of all time, two-time premiership player in 1982 and 1984, a Magarey medalist in 1981, SANFL Hall of Fame inductee, and 15 times he represented the state as well. The great Michael Aish, great to have you on a chat for Legends with Bevo, mate.
Yeah, good on you, Bevo. I don't know if you can call it great, Bevo, but I certainly enjoyed the career, and 15 years, so it was enjoyable, that's for sure.
I think you're a very modest man, mate. With your career, it certainly deserves greatness, that's for sure. Let's hear about your journey, though, because it's obviously a very interesting one. You played all your footy at Norwood, which in this day and age is quite unusual, because there's so much, back in the days of loyalty is out the window now, because there's so many players that play at more than one club. But you did it. You played more than 300 games, 307, I think.
307,
yep,
correct.
At Norwood. Talk us through the journey and how you got to play league footy at Norwood.
Well, actually, it's an interesting journey, Bevo, because it nearly started. Well, it actually all started out at West Adelaide in their mini league, because my school was in their district. So, and we had quite a few Rex Johns, ex-Port Adelaide, John Judd, ex-South Adelaide, myself or Dad. So we played for West Adelaide Mini League, and then yet I lived in the West Torrens district. So I was eligible to play for West Torrens or Norwood. So I decided that it was probably a better idea to play for Norwood than it was. And look, it's only a natural progression really, because I'd always I'd always say, well, what's Norwood's score? I'd be interested in their score, I wouldn't worry about anything else. But I did actually end up going first up to West Torrens, because they rang me up and said, come out to training. So I went out there, and Neil Curley was coach, Neville Roberts, Bruce Lindsay were the guns out there, and I've just come out of school, and I'm thinking, man, this is... Tuesday night, got introduced by David Mackay, ex-Carlton, went out there, trained. That was on the Tuesday night, and then come the Thursday night, Curly says, right, we're going to have finals like training. And at the end of I was exhausted, and at the end of the night they sprinted a lap, and I am just last by a mile. And anyway, you always go in and they have the cordial, like it's magnificent, the cordial. And I've had about 20 cups of that cordial, and then I'm having a shower, and you got the greats like Roberts, Lindsay, Peter McSporrans, Filippo, all these guys that have been there a long time, and I'm just having a shower, and then all of a sudden the cordial's starting to play a bit of havoc, and I bolted to the toilet and just spewed everywhere. It was crook everywhere, and that was my introduction. And then Nord got a hold of it through Mike Coward, who's a Nord man, who is the advertiser journalist. He wrote in the paper that I was out there, and then Nord are on the phone straight away to my dad, Wally Miller, and said, what's going on? And so then he actually got Alan Killigrew, who coached my dad, to take my brother and myself in 1978 to I think it was the first semi-final against Sturt, which we got beaten. And then I went to that grand final. So Nord got into that grand final, of course, won by a point, wasn't it, or something. We as a family went out to the parade, couldn't get near the place, and so and then 6 weeks later you're out there training. So it was surreal really, because you just, yeah, okay, I'll go and play, and started out there, so premiership side, and was lucky enough to be, as you said, 15 years as a player.
And two premierships, of course, in 1982 and 1984. One of them was against my Magpies, mind you, Aishy. But
if I knew you were Magpies, I wouldn't be here, Bevo.
But talk us through those two premierships, and I guess out of the two, which one was more special?
Oh, well, look, there's no brainer. It was more special. But 82, I actually remember sitting in the stand 82. We'd played Port to go into the grand final. And then so we went to the preliminary final, and there's Glenelg playing Port, and that's the game that I reckon Granger has belted Cornsey. And not only has he belted Cornsey, I reckon he might have belted another guy as well. So, and it was a tough game, and Glenelg got through. So they were pretty done, I think, by that time, and we were a bit fresh, and we got into the grand final. Neagle kicked 6, Roberts goes okay. We were pretty dominant, weren't really, challenged at all, and we're lucky enough to win. So that was great. And then 84 was coming from 5th and playing against the arch enemy. So that was the most pleasing, I think, without a doubt, because we were halfway during the season, we're looking like we're not going to get in there. And then all of a sudden, we've had a bit of a run. We won so many games on the trot. I think the only one we did lose was Weston's kicked a torque on the run or something from the wing and has bounced through. It's the only one we didn't win. And then every game, so 84 elimination final against South. That was probably, we'd played them the week before and won by about 8 goals. And then we fronted up against them, and it was a bit tough there for a while, but then we ran away from it in the end. So that was probably the easiest of the games. And then we played Centrals, and it was blowing a gale, and it was just terrible. And we were under the pump. We were with the wind in the last quarter, and it was tough. And we managed to get over the line by, 11, 12, 14 points or something like that. And then we played Glenelg, and Glenelg kicked extremely badly. I sometimes get on YouTube and watch it, and I'm thinking, man, they had about 10 more scoring shots, I reckon. Anyway, we won that one, and then come against Port in 84, coming from 5th, first time to come on 5th. Tough game, Evans and Balm, before the game, have a bit of a tete-a-tete, a bit blowy and whatever, and we were just fortunate enough to get over the line by 9 points. And it was, I guess, when I say, so I played in 2 grand finals, as you correctly said, 82 and 84, as a relatively young player. So I started in 79 at 18. Okay, so by the time 79, 81, 82, you're 21, and then about 24. I don't think you really appreciate what winning a grand final is all about when you're young. And unfortunately, after that, we got into 3 preliminary finals in the late 80s and lost them all. And I'm sure at the latter end of my career, if I'd actually won a grand final, you would just savour it a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. I've won 1 flag myself and lost a few Aishy, so I know exactly what that's all about. Now, let's talk about that rivalry between Port and Norwood. As a Magpie supporter, as I touched on before, one thing I just loved doing Aishy was just going down with my parents and watching the important Norwood games, whether it be at Alberton Oval, whether it be at Norwood Oval, or the finals at Footy Park, of course, and it was just awesome. Talk us through that bit of rivalry, though. Why you guys, hate each other so much.
I'd like to use that terminology, but I go a bit softer and say dislike. But look, Port Adelaide, without a doubt, most successful club, supporter base fantastic. Just expect to win. Tough, ruthless. But it was in grounding to me as a kid, because obviously my father played 10 years for the Norwood Footy Club, and what's he going to tell you? Same thing happened back then. That it is what it is. So you just think, righto, I did the same to my kids. My kids are good mates with Keith Thomas's boy, who's now gone to the dark side. And
smart man.
Yeah, but they rib each other a fair bit. But I don't know what. Certainly the respect is there. As you say, there is probably hate there, but it's not hate in like the true terminology is hate. But I think you just actually probably because they were so successful, maybe a little bit arrogant. I don't know, but they could afford to be because they were so successful. So we're the eastern side toffs that at the parade, and they're the working class, all that sort of stuff. But it was, look, hey, you knew that when you played Port Adelaide, like I remember my second year going down there in a trial game, and old Dave, you know, I wasn't quite ready for the bump and busted the collarbone, but I remember the players saying to me, wait till you go down to the Alberton to play. You know, like that is, when you're out there on the deck, mate, it is another atmosphere. Anyway, I remember going down there once, and I'm sitting down, it would have probably been my second year, maybe third, I don't know, and we're sitting down, I'm sitting the old grandstand, you know, where the bowling club is, and you're walking down, and I'm sitting down there and I'm thinking, man, you know, like that period from 12 o'clock till 2 o'clock, the worst. You know, like you're watching a bit of the twos, you're worrying about what's going on, and you're thinking, man, I just want to get out there, right? And I'm sitting in this little, I don't know, steps, and then there's the other steps about 10 metres away where people are going up, and I'm just minding my own business, and I reckon she would have been about 60, and this woman just starts paying me out before I even get out there. And I said to the guys, I thought you said it was tough on the field. You know, and I hadn't even actually got out there yet, but you know, like the atmosphere out there, you know, you expect to get given heaps, and you know, back in those days, like she's packed. So atmosphere at Alberton, reasonably enclosed, but you know, the parade, like the atmosphere there is, it's really, mate, you look back and you think, man, the games are tough. There was a heap of respect. Sometimes we'd belt them. Most of the times they'd be good games. They'd belt us. Sometimes we'd belt them. Sometimes, very rarely would that happen, but they'd be very close. So, look, you just respect because of the tradition, you know, their success, and in essence, you know, you probably might think, you know what, I wish we had as much success as they did, because you know, we were a reasonable side, but we certainly didn't have the success they did.
And there's been a lot of talk about modern footy these days, Aishy, being too defensive, and you know, everyone's coming out and being a critic at the moment and saying, you know, let's change the game, let's make it 16 aside, or let's not kick backwards and these sort of things. What's your take on modern footy, and what do you think we need to do to make the game, you know, more spectator friendly, I guess?
Well, that's a tough question, Bevo. I think, look, I don't enjoy watching it because I think it is boring. I don't think it's entertaining. Now, and you know, like you have 30 players in an area of 25 metres, or you know, like, you know, how they all hustle and do all that. Now, I know the coaches and it's nothing like it used to be. You know, play your positions, play your one man and whatever. How you can actually change that? Well, I think they do need to actually take some reasonably drastic steps in changing that. Whether it's actually, and how they go about that, there's a lot more experts than me that'll be looking into that. And I know they've gone to 6-6-6. I don't think that's helped at all, because once that's done and dusted, she's back to normal. Look, do you zone and say, right, they have to actually be in that position, you know, like ball ups and whatever you can own. You know, you don't want 25 players about it. So it's a hard one. Do you have maybe two less players on the ground? I don't think that's going to help. I think you have to zone it somehow. How are you going to actually zone that? You know, I know they've tried pre-season footy a little bit differently a couple of years ago. I can't remember what they used to call it. It wasn't that enjoyable on a square oval and that. They definitely need to do something about it.
AFLX you're talking about?
Yeah, AFLX.
Yeah.
They do need to do something about it, because it's not as entertaining, in my opinion, as it used to be. And look, even in SANFL, you know, like the negative side of it's coming, and the zoning and that, it's not as, I don't think, as compressed as the AFL. But the skills, one thing it actually has done is it's improved the skills of the players, because their reactional time in close and all that has to be the best. And you do notice that most of them, the way they actually are They are aware of where most people are and the quick give and in and out, and whoever can transition that out the best will normally win the game, because those that turn over, as we know, lose the game.
Very good point, Aishy. And you played the 15 games of state footy, as I mentioned at the start, and you've absolutely played with some of the all-time greats like Platts, Jars, sadly Mark Daly, who passed away recently.
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah, these sort of guys. And talk to us through this experience and what it was like going against the Big Ben, because speaking of rivalry, talk about Port Norwood, but SA and Victoria, there's no bigger rivalry than that.
Yeah, look, that when I came on board into the state game, I think it was Bob Hammond early. In '83 we had Bob Hammond. That was, I don't know, I can't even remember when I first started, Bob Hammond, and then Cornsey came as state coach, and Cornsey was brilliant because actually state training was harder than your normal training, because Cornsey was saying, mate, we're representing the state, we need to actually represent them and be proud to do that and put in the result. So I think he brought the players together from that point of view extremely well. Like, he could coach, a very good coach as well. But of course you had the Kernahans, Motley, Bradley, Platten, Filkey, there was heaps of them. So the games, particularly at Adelaide Oval, there was one at 89, I reckon it was, at the MCG, when it was wet the whole week and we got smashed. And I remember running out there for the first time, and the crowd, there's 80 or 90,000 there. I'd never heard anything like it before. Just hovered over the ground, of course, when Victoria ran out. We were completely outclassed. They had the players like Burton, Dipper Domenico, Plugger Lockett, Gary Lyon, Ablett, sensational. And actually I remember in that game, it's funny how you just remember something. I'm thinking, Lockett's at full forward, so I've actually come across about second or third quarter to cut off a lead, and I'm thinking, man, I'm dead here. I'm in a lot of trouble. Thank goodness he missed me, because they're big blokes. So we were smashed in that one. But the games at Adelaide Oval, at Footy Park, in the 80s, we won our fair share more than not, and it was always good to beat them because they had Teddy Whitten, of course, the late great Teddy Whitten. They were always he was always pumping himself up, which they do, and the like. But our quality that we had as Platten, Bradley, Anderson, Macca, our talent was as good as their talent. They obviously had their competition was probably a bit stronger than us, but when you're talking about the elite and those that played state footy, we matched up very well, and of course the results speak for themselves.
And in terms of VFL and AFL, Aishy, was there any temptation to go and play in the VFL/AFL? Yeah,
absolutely. Look, it's actually interesting. I grew up supporting Richmond. I had the Richmond poster on my wall. Royce Hart, Bruce Monteith, Sheedy, Malthouse, Balm, of course. They had some great players. Tommy Hafey being the coach that he was. So I love the Tigers, and then I signed a Form 4 with Richmond in 1981. Sorry, 1980. Now 81, I had my best year. I should have waited a year to sign that. Instead of getting $4,000, I probably could have got 40. But and I didn't go purely, I think, more anxiety than anything. But I love the Tigers and had the opportunity to go to Carlton, St Kilda, Sydney. I remember Don Roach, who was the president of the SANFL, he went to work for Sydney. He rang me and said, so I go over there and I get to meet Dr. Jeffrey. Big piano, sit there and have a chat to them. And I'm thinking, man, I look back and think probably I just should have gone. I should have. Essendon, of course, I went for a couple of weeks and I can make all the excuses under the sun, but I guess it was anxiety and just didn't want to step out of to the unknown, so to speak. So I look back with that and probably do regret that a little bit. Why I didn't go, because I had the opportunity to go to that and Essendon and under Sheedy and that. I can make all the excuses under the sun, bad back, which happened and all that, but probably, should have bitten the bullet and gone.
In 81 though, you did win Magarey, so you made a pretty good choice from that perspective. What an amazing achievement though to win SANFL's highest, or SANFL as it was back in those days, highest individual award, Aishy.
Yeah, look, I just had a pretty good year and got plenty of the footy. I started at half forward flank, obviously, in my 79, 80. 80 started going on ball, and then 81 was full-time ruck rover. And in fact, my tag team man in 81 or probably about 81 onwards, ruck roving duo was Keith Thomas. And Keith was, I reckon, very underrated as a player. Very professional. He was a very good player. Got plenty of the ball, so we were not a bad tag team. And 81, we just, I don't know, sometimes I was fit, I was healthy, and you work hard. It's amazing though when you are fit, and you can actually see it if you look back at games and you think, man, you just would run, and okay, reading the play and doing all those sort of things, you get a bit of luck with that as well, but you can either do that or you can't, so that certainly helped. We had a good side, we had a pretty solid side. We got to the prelim. I remember the prelim, we played Glenelg in the prelim, and we were going all right, and we got to the prelim and the weather was atrocious. It was probably the windiest I've seen, and the bays kicked with the wind, and the wind turned, so they had 3/4 of it, and we just got, and that it's a sad sometimes that actually things like that happen and can affect the game like it did. I'm not saying we would have won, but that now playing indoors these days as they do, that would have been actually good, because I used to say that the best days to play footy was overcast, like no wind and overcast, and I was to say, if you can't play today, you can't play,
And I heard from a little birdie as well, Aishy, that you're not a bad tennis player, but recently you're up 5-love, 40-love, playing against your son. What happened, mate?
Mate, I don't know where you... What, did he post that, did he? Oh, no, look, I've got to let him down easy that he was spitting the dummy there for a while. Things weren't going his way, so I thought I'd just actually relax a bit and just go for everything. I dropped my standard a bit just to appease him a bit. So, no, look, he actually started to improve a fair bit, and I wasn't going to net. I'm staying back. I have rallies, and he can hit a reasonable ball. His backhand's pretty average, but so he always gets on the forehand and hits it pretty well. So yeah, look, he managed to actually. I don't know if it was that 5-zip or 5-1 and 40-love. He tells everyone it was, but. Anyway, he's excellently improved, and I need to pick up my game, but I actually do that in the summer now. I've joined Keith Thomas. He's got a group of guys at a Roslyn Park or something. We go and have a hit of the summer. He's been doing it for 7 or 8 years. He's played doubles, and it's actually it got cut short because of the old COVID. It's actually, you got to keep moving. You got to keep doing something, and I really enjoyed that. Doubles is a heck of a lot easier than singles, let me tell you.
And actually, before we let you go, we'll just finish off with a few quick questions. Your toughest opponent?
Tony Giles, Port Adelaide, first few years, very tough and strong. But of course, I guess later on, Trevor Rowe used to tag me against Centrals, super fit, super disciplined. And did a very good job. Probably nutted me more times than I would have liked.
And your funniest teammate you ever played with at Norwood?
Oh, funniest? I don't know if there's anyone actually. Mac is a bit of a character. When Andrew Jarman came there, he was a very, very much a character. Johnny Wynn had a very, different sense of humour. And Johnny Wynn was actually, when I talk about Johnny, when I first got there, took me under his wing and actually really, just told me what to expect. We did a bit of extra training on a Sunday, just a bit of a mentor, and it was great to, to have those sort of players that can actually bring those juniors on and just take a bit of time with us.
And what's the best prank that you came across when you were playing footy at Norwood or state footy or any other footy?
The best what?
The best prank that you came across.
Paint?
Prank.
Oh, prank?
Yeah.
Oh no, look, I probably can't tell that one because there was a few guys did a few things at the club. I would probably, what I thought was quite the humorous is that Hugo Colasanti, like big Hugo, he's a big boy, and he worked in the quarry that our president Nero Ferraro owned. So he'd come out to training and he'd train and then he'd have a shower, like he'd dust all over him. He's having a shower and there's 6 showers in that, and he's washing his hair, and Johnny, so he's put the shampoo on, and then Johnny Wynn just squeezed the bottle for about 5 minutes, so he's washing his hair for about 20, and he didn't have any idea what was going on. So that was probably the best one I could actually tell without going into territory I don't want to go into.
You've answered it very well. Well, Michael Aish, thanks so much for joining us for our first ever live Legends of Bevo here at the Alma. Again, congratulations on your amazing career, mate. And take care, all the very best. Stay safe, obviously, with this COVID situation, and we'll speak again soon, mate.
Good on you, Bevo. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Aishy. Thanks, Justin, as well, and to the Alma as well, and everyone else that came on tonight. Thank you.